Hello there, this is David Humanity, and this video, the first video on my channel, actually, I should mention. It's going to be a response to WisdomInNature7 and his video, P.Z. Myers Splits the Movement. Firstly, I'm a huge fan of WisdomInNature7. I should just get that out of the way. But I did have some questions about your last video. In it, you're talking about P.Z. Myers and how his free thought blogs requires a commitment both to these sort of progressive Enlightenment ideals and feminist ideas. And you talk about how, that's problematic because contemporary atheism is is a movement that's very centered on truth and a perception of there being truth and reason and rationality and all that. And feminism can draw on some left-wing, sort of post-modernist, truth-skeptical things, ideas, I should say, which aren't very conducive to that. So you talk, for instance, about feminist epistemology, which sort of undermines the traditional view of the subject or the knower. Although I should mention that feminism as a social movement doesn't necessarily deal with epistemology that much. It's sort of a bit of a fringe thing that just sort of pops up in epistemology, feminist epistemology. But anyway, so that's fair. But you also bring up how he has this commitment to humanist ideas and progressive Enlightenment ideas, and that can come in conflict with science and reason and anthropological research. And you say at the end of your video, in the end, you should take science over Enlightenment ideals. And I find that very interesting and hard to parse, because it tends to be the postmodernist, left-wing, anti-truth, truth-skeptical people who reject Enlightenment ideals. I mean, other than, the right-wing people who reject the Enlightenment ideals. There's also the left-wing people who reject it because they don't believe in the fixity of human nature and it's all a social construct. Foucault, for instance, would call himself an anti-humanist. And I find that interesting that you should say that you should be critical of you should be questioning P.Z. Myers' commitment to Enlightenment ideals, when those seem to me to be the ones most conducive to science and reason, the progressive Enlightenment ideals, in a sort of Kantian or neo-Kantian way. Those Enlightenment and science and reason tend to go together very well. So I was wondering why you both seem to be contra the postmodernist truth skepticism, and also pro some of the tenets of that. And I was wondering if you could clarify that and maybe explain your position a little bit more clearly for me, because I was a little bit confused by that. I would also be curious as to whether or not you would think it would still be problematic if you knew that P.Z. Myers' feminism came from a liberal or humanist feminist tradition and wasn't one rooted in postmodern truth skepticism. I have no idea if that's actually the case, but I don't know anything about P.Z. Myers' politics. But I would still be curious. I would be curious if you still would find that problematic or divisive for contemporary atheism. Anyhow, I think that's about it. So thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate any responses that you could give me. And this has been David Humanity, and thank you for your time.